Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Nice to have you. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm glad you're here, but don't forget to ring that notification bell. You want to hit all so you don't miss a single episode of one of my podcasts. And I do try to keep different cases separate. So today I'm going to talk about the closing arguments in the George Allen Kelly case. And I now understand why Long Crime stopped covering this, because there's a bandwidth problem in this courtroom. It was difficult for anyone else in the courthouse to get anything done if all the bandwidth was being used in this one particular courtroom. In any case, what is happening is at the end of every day, the video is uploaded to the courthouse website, and you can access it there, which is what I did so I could listen to the closings after they had already occurred. Now, this is supposed to go to the jury this morning by 4. Well, it's already with the jury, but they came back yesterday afternoon about 4:30ish. They had some questions, so they will be returning to continue their deliberations this morning. Now, how we're going to know there's a verdict, I don't know, because I don't know if there's anybody in the courtroom or covering this case locally that would be able to tell us. We might have to wait till the afternoon to see what the morning feed shows us. Yeah, just saying. So in any case, George Allen Kelly was charged with second-degree murder, which means he didn't premeditate it, but it was still intentional. So that's what he's been charged with. Gabrielle Sewin Butchmia, who George Allen Kelly. Now, I'm not going to. I don't want to go over the theories yet because I'll cover that in the closing arguments. But that's what he's charged with, for shooting and killing Gabrielle Sewin Butchmia on his property on January 30th of 2023. Now, prosecution gets up to make their opening arguments. And what they did was he really followed the jury instructions very closely. He'd go through the instruction on the charge and then apply the facts of the case as he sees them to the charge. So their theory is very different than the defense's theory. So it's just going to depend on, what the jury thinks of this, which way they're going to go. And I need to tell you that luckily, and this is going to be the jury's out, there was an instruction given on justification. Yeah. First, let me talk about the second-degree murder. That's a pretty stiff charge, but there are lesser included offenses, including manslaughter, which would be unintentional. And then, or just reckless conduct, So the defense has put forward a justification defense that he was justified. If someone comes on your property and you're in your dwelling and you feel threatened, then you are justified in shooting that person. And you have to believe that you're honest to God under some kind of threat, great bodily harm by whoever, and whether that's a real threat or not, it doesn't matter. If George Allen Kelly perceived what he heard and saw that day as a threat against his wife and him inside of that home, he can be found justified in what he did. Now, I have to tell you, in Arizona, they're currently going through legislation. There's a bill going through legislation that would allow these ranchers to go out and shoot these people just for entering his property. Nothing to do with the dwelling. Now, whether that makes its way through, the legislature in Arizona or not, I'm not sure. That'll be interesting. But it just kind of gives you a flavor of what's going on in Arizona. These people are tired of these immigrants crossing their property. And it's not that these are undocumented people trying to find the American dream, because that's bullshit. Some of them are, but the great majority of them are these drug runners, these mules. They're trafficking humans, they're trafficking drugs, and they're doing it in large numbers, and they're tracking across people's property to do it. And this is what George Allen Kelly thought on that day. But we'll get to that during the defense's closing. So the prosecution, like I said, he followed the jury instructions very closely. And his version of the story is that George is having lunch in his house, and he looks out and he sees a group of men, and he grabs his AK-47, runs out on the patio, and starts shooting at them. Well, not exactly how that happened, but he says, he goes outside with this AK-47 that he just happens to have next to the door of his, as you exit, and without any verbal warning, he fires 9 shots. And he had to point out to the jury, okay, but this is a weapon that can fire 30 shots in a few seconds. So for him to have only shot 9 shots, that's very brief, that's for an AK-47. But then he played the 911 call that we heard, and he talked about how every time George was asked about this incident, he always had a different version of the incident. I don't think that's true, but his biggest issue was when he first calls the cops that morning after the incident, where he hears somebody and he goes out and he shoots. He calls the cops. And the call goes out as an active shooter. The cops come. The sheriff's office sends 4 people. Border Patrol sends 2 people. There's 6 people. They search the property. They don't find anything. So it's during that initial visit that the prosecution said he never told anybody he fired the gun. Well, he did on the 911 call. He did, and he. And this is, I'm telling you, the closing argument of the defense is that, yes, he did. He informed the dispatcher when he called that, hey, yes. And he informed the Border Patrol liaison when he called him, yes, I fired some shots. And he would assume that if you've given that information to the officers, that they have that information when they get there. And not to mention, when they got on the scene, he walks up to him with an AK-47. Hello, So that was one of the things he was critical about. Then he says when they came the second time that afternoon, after he finds the body, him and his dogs, he doesn't mention having fired his weapon until he's in a police interview, and he's 30 minutes into the interview when he finally talks about firing his weapon. So there's a big, the prosecution is saying he fired at them. The defense is saying he fired over their head. So one of the things the prosecution talked about was the fact that there was no gunshot residue. And all that proves is that the man was not shot at close range. Someone had to be more than 20 feet away from him when they shot the weapon. So that's why you didn't find any gunshot residue. So he mentioned that these undocumented migrants that come across the border are wearing camouflage, and not because they're drug dealers, because, you wear camouflage. You don't want to get caught by the Border Patrol. They're carrying backpacks because they have food and water in the backpacks, and they're carrying radios so that when they get to where they're going, they can call for pickup. Well, there you go. Okay. But, all right, I was not impressed by the closing argument of the prosecution. It was basically, he shot him. He came out, he shot him. It was intentional. Okay. And he points out how, he played the 911 call from when they came the second time. Dispatch, he didn't call 911. He called the Border Patrol liaison the second time. He says, I found this body out here. And Border Patrol liaison calls the sheriff's office. The sheriff's office calls him and says, hey, what's going on over there? And And then this weird phone call ensues. If I can find it, I will insert it here because it's very weird.
Hello?
Hi, sir. I'm calling from the Santa Cruz County Sheriff's Office.
Yes.
Hi. I'm just calling because we received the report from Border Patrol.
Yes.
So I'm just calling to get more information. So what happened?
You're going to have to send an officer out here.
Okay, what's going on?
I can't.
I'm sorry?
It's very serious, ma'am, and I'm not going to talk over the telephone.
Okay, I understand it's serious, but I need more context in order to send a deputy.
Okay, fine. It's going to be,
Go ahead,
well,
you can talk to me. What's going on?
yeah, I know I can talk to you, but you're responsible for what I say, and I'm responsible for what I say.
Can you give me a little context of what happened? What's going on? You told them that you shot at something. What did you shoot at?
I didn't shoot at any. I haven't said I shot at anything.
Okay, well, that's what Border Patrol told us, so that's why I'm just asking you.
Yeah. Y'all guys, the Nogales Sheriff Department had 4 or 5 guys out here this afternoon investigating a Border Patrol drug running incident. And I don't know if I can't remember the officer's name. There was 2 gentlemen and 2 young ladies, maybe third. Do you know who I'm talking about? They came out to 100 Willer Cross Circle.
You mean for my deputies, correct?
Yeah, they were Nogales.
Yeah, I'm aware of what happened earlier.
You're aware? Okay, then they're aware of what happened, and I don't want to get you in trouble, and I don't want to get me in trouble, but I don't want to break the law or anything like that. So what I'm telling you is that we need a sheriff deputy out here, 100 Willer Cross Circle, immediately, and that's all I can say, ma'am.
Okay, is anyone hurt? I need to know, because if someone's hurt, I need to send an ambulance too.
There's no.
Okay, do you feel more comfortable talking to a deputy over the phone?
Well, in other words, okay, you know the thing. You have the right to remain silent, and anything you can.
I understand.
Anything you say can and will be held against you. In a court of law. I'm not admitting to anything I've done, but all those things tend to add up, and I don't know what happened. I just know what I just saw about 15 minutes ago, and it's something that an ambulance cannot help. EMTs cannot help. There's nothing out here that can be aided by EMT or emergency services.
Okay, I understand you don't want to give me a lot of details, but what you are requesting an officer from me, so I just needed to know for their own safety and your safety a little bit of what's happening, what's going on.
Okay, I'll put it like this. Last spring out here, there was a pickup found on East Sagebrush with a dead lady in it. I don't know if you knew of that or not.
Yes, sir. I'm aware of what happened.
Okay, it's a situation similar to that. How's that?
Okay.
You follow? You understand what I'm saying?
I
It's a situation exactly like that.
Okay.
And so that's going to require the sheriff to come out here.
Okay. Can you tell me a description of the vehicle?
I don't have a description. There's not a vehicle.
Okay.
The only thing that I was referring to in conjunction with that accident was the body.
Okay.
You got it?
Okay. All right. Okay, can I have your name?
Yes, George Kelly.
George Kelly. Okay, George, would you, if my deputy goes over there, would you take him to whatever it is that you found?
Yes, I have it marked. I have a flashlight on over it because it's going to be dark when he gets here probably, but I'll take it to him. And
you are sure an EMT cannot help?
I am positive. I have a medical background. An EMT cannot help.
Okay. Do you know whoever it is that you saw?
No, I do not know. I didn't say it was anybody. I just said it was a body.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right.
I'm not trying to be smart, ma'am. I'm just trying to.
You're trying to be careful, and I get that. However, I hope you understand that on my end, I have to take care of my deputies too. So I
Yes, I
needed a
understand.
little bit more context as to why you needed a deputy to head out there.
Now you know that there is a body here.
Okay. All right. Does it look somewhat?
And it's not alive. So you asked, did you need EMT? I said no.
Okay.
I'm sure a coroner will be involved sooner or later.
I understand. George, can you tell me something? Is it discolored from somewhere?
Is it discolored?
Yes.
What does that mean?
Has it been there for a while? Can you tell?
From what? In that I only approached the body to make sure that the animal, it's not a vegetable or a mineral, the animal wasn't alive and it was not alive.
Okay.
There were no signs. There was no signs of blood. There was just an animal laying face down.
An animal?
An animal, and you know what an animal is. It's not a vegetable or a mineral.
Okay.
It's a body, and you know what I'm talking about.
I understand what you're talking about, George.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to send the deputy then over to your house so you can lead them over to wherever you found what it is
Okay.
you found, okay?
And now, maybe one of the deputies were out here. They know how to get here because it's 100 Willicross Circle, and it's kind of hard to find. It's a ranch right on the border. So
I have one of my deputies that responded earlier going over your way.
That's good. You do that. They know how to get here, and I'll have the gate open.
Okay. Sounds good, George. Thank you. Thank you for the
I appreciate your help and your patience, and I'm sorry if
No problem. I understand.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you.
I told you it was really weird. Yeah. And I don't think it was because he was playing games. He was genuinely scared. I guess you can tell what side I'm on here, where I'm landing with the issues in this case. He's 75 years old, and he's smart. He knows that whatever he says is going to be used against him, and he's not wrong. How many times have we heard this 911 call? So the prosecution starts out, or the defense attorney starts out by pointing out that the Border Patrol liaison, it's a person that works for Border Patrol that deals with all the ranchers. And he had been advising these ranchers that they have been finding large groups of people, running drugs in the area. So this is his mindset. George Allen Kelly has been told there are large groups of people in the area. So he chooses to arm himself. It's your God-given constitutional right to bear arms. Anyway, so what the prosecution leaves out is that George said he heard a gunshot. The prosecution I don't think they believe him. They think he just looked out the window and saw them. Well, the defense points out, you guys got to go to the house. You got to go to the scene. You were in the house. Could you see 100 feet away when you were in that house? Then she talked about how, if you would buy the plaintiff's version of the story, then you would have to believe that George looked out that window while he's making lunch at between 100 and 150 feet away. He sees these two guys in camouflage. Then he takes the time to call 911 about them being out there. he makes up the story that there's groups and groups of them, a large group of these men, even though he only saw two. And they come out, they search his property, and, it doesn't make any sense, because if they don't find anything, because their belief is that, prosecution's belief is that he knew that morning that he had shot someone, but they didn't find a body. Now, if you believe the prosecution, if you believe George Allen Kelly is guilty of this, why in the world would he call the police a second time and say, hey, the body's out here? Why not just pack up and leave town? Get rid of the weapon and leave town for a few weeks. So they'll find the body eventually, but why would you call 911? Why would you call the Border Patrol liaison and say that you found a body? I don't know. So they talked about how he's 100% justified in what he did, that he was, when he heard that shot outside his home, he knew he needed to respond. And when he went out on the patio, he fired warning shots over their heads and not in the direction that they were standing. And some of the things that the defense point out that I wasn't aware of, because we didn't get to see the pictures that they saw, but the pictures of the deceased, the backpack was unzipped that he had on and partially over his head, like somebody was trying to take it. And the belt buckle on his fanny pack was broken. Yeah. Now this guy, Farmer George, is also charged with the assault of Daniel, whatever you think his last name might be, keeps changing it. And the defense's theory is that Daniel was not there. He was not there. Or if he was there, there was a bunch of other people there as well. That Daniel's story just doesn't add up, because he gives details in his story that are just not consistent with the facts. And so the defense attorney is very, very critical of Daniel's story, and is asking. And when Daniel testified, I didn't believe a word he said. I did not. That he had attempted to come to America 10 times and got caught every single time. I think he'd been to this country many, many more times over the years than 10 times. And this is over many years. And then he failed in his mission each and every time. No, I think those are just the times he got caught. So the defense is also critical that when the police come out the second time after George calls about the body, they treat George and his wife like suspects instead of victims. The defense was questioning, why wouldn't the police, sit down with them and calmly ask, walk me through what happened. They don't do that. Instead, they throw handcuffs on George, place him in the police car, put his wife in the back of a police car and leave her there, and then take them both down to the police station for police interviews. So that was basically the closing arguments. So, who do you believe? But I have to believe this is a jury of his peers. This man, is out on bond. He has had a lot of help from the public. He has got so much support from his community, from the people of Arizona, and these jurors, they know what's going on in this town. They know what's going on. They're not dumb. They know weapons. They know what's going on with the migrants. So I am very anxious to see how they fall in this thing. Obviously, I think they're going to be not guilty. I really do. Or it's going to be one of these lesser included offenses. And as you know, we just saw was that in New Mexico? Yeah, no. Okay, never mind. All right, guys. Have a wonderful day. I will have another episode today up on Chad Daybell's case, so look for that as well. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Bye.